Good morning. I think this is working and I am actually live. I've had all kinds of technological issues this morning, but I guess if it's not live, Caitlin will probably get the recording anyway and she'll be able to post it. Well, good morning. It's Tuesday. This is Elise Buie again at Elise Buie Family Law Group. And this morning has been an interesting morning so far. We as a family got up super early waiting for the SpaceX launch because that is what Ethan is super excited about. And so it first was supposed to be at 4, then at 6, then at 8. And now we're just waiting. Apparently they're working on something. So we've had an interesting morning. It was turned into a pancake morning because in our family, if you wake up super early to do something, you always have to add in some random fun food. So that's what we did. But today I wanted to come to you and talk to you. I mean, speaking of kids and what we do, I wanted to talk to you about telling the kids. And what I'm talking about, obviously, is telling your kids about the fact that you are getting a divorce and how to go about telling the kids in a way that supports them so that they can, handle the news as good as possible and be able to move forward. And so, one of the most important things about telling the children is that you do it together and that you come together beforehand and discuss how you're going to do it. And you want to make sure that you're presenting a unified front about, the fact that you're getting a divorce, about the fact that you love the children, both of you, and that you both are very committed to keeping them, stable, secure, and doing the things necessary to work together as a family moving forward. I mean, you might even want to talk about things like you might have a family tradition that's super important to you. You might want to discuss before you tell the kids, how are you going to handle that? You'd be surprised at some of the questions kids answer right away. I mean, kids ask, excuse me, when you first tell them. And sometimes it's as simple as, well, how's Santa going to find us if we're in two homes? Or, are we still going to eat birthday cake for breakfast? And how are we going to do that in two homes? Or whatever your traditions may be, but being able to answer those questions makes a lot of sense. And I mean, sometimes the answer to those questions might be, I don't know, or your dad and I are going to have to figure it out, or your mom and I are talking about that and we'd love your input. I mean, but, being open, honest, and listening to those questions and then circling back around if need be would be very important. And another thing I want to point out there when we're talking about telling them, and sometimes I think parents forget this, is kids are sometimes really angry. And sometimes, depending on your family situation, what they know, don't know, what they've heard, not heard, who they've met, not met. I mean, there's all kinds of things that go into different situations. But if you have a child who is super angry for some reason, maybe they feel like one of you holds the fault for the divorce, or maybe they feel like, one of you is just leaving and the other doesn't want it. And if that comes across in this telling of the children, I mean, that's a problem. I mean, a lot of times we family law attorneys, when we're talking to potential clients, we very much want to know and often can tell, instantaneously who's the leaver and who's the left behind. And a lot of times that left behind parent thinks they're doing a good thing by telling the children things like, well, I didn't want this divorce, or, I don't want our family to be split up. But what that person is really doing is creating some real problems for the children. And so when you come together as a couple and discuss this prior to telling the children, it is very important that you both come together kind of equally yoked in what you're telling the children so that you can both say, we've decided that this marriage, is not positive and that it would be better for mommy and daddy to live in separate homes so that we can be the best parents we can be. And we can do that separately in separate homes. But it is very important that you understand and accept your child's anger. And, sometimes a parent, especially in a situation where maybe an extramarital affair was involved, the parent, the quote unquote innocent parent will want to, they will say things like, well, I will never lie to my children and I will always tell my children everything. I'm so open with my children. That is not something you want to share with your child. It is not helpful. It is simply harmful. And it is not going to do anything to help them psychologically be able to move forward, which obviously should be your main goal. I know you all love your children more than you hate your ex. And so in order to put that into practice, that means keeping your mouth shut when it comes to that, who's at fault, who's not at fault, what happened. And I think it's important when you are dealing with child anger, which sometimes can be child rage. I mean, let's be serious. You need to seek professional help. Getting your child into a counselor who specializes in divorce would be ideal. Somebody maybe who works as a child specialist in the collaborative law process would also be a great resource, because that person can interview the child and then bring both parents in and be able to talk to them about kind of what's going on with the child and how the parents can best support the child. But I mean, when you tell your children about your divorce, this is your first opportunity to act as co-CEOs, where you're really putting the child's needs front and center. I mean, and we think of, putting the child's needs in the center of all of our decision making, but not putting the children in the middle, caught in the middle of the fight. There's a big difference between front and center decision making and caught in the middle. And so here's your opportunity to come together, tell your children, and do it in such a way that your children can understand what's being told to them. They can feel safe and secure that you two got this, you know what you're doing, you're going to be able to handle this process. And that if the children are emotional, I mean, sad, angry, all the emotions, and they will be, it is very common, then you will be able to handle that as well. Do not try to shut down your child's emotions. This is not the time, to be like, oh, it's time to, not cry or not this. I mean, children need to be able to feel their emotions, and they need to be able to communicate those emotions and get some help around addressing what needs to be addressed for them. Okay, I think that is all I have to tell you about telling the kids, but I think it is so important you realize, I mean, this is your very first step in your co-CEO role. So, I mean, think about it, talk about it, read about it, learn about it, and then go do it together. And do it with the mindset of putting your children front and center so that your children can thrive through your divorce and post-divorce. It's not your kids' fault that you're doing this. Don't turn this into their problem. Okay, it was nice talking to you, and I will see you next Tuesday, hopefully minus the technological problems and hopefully after SpaceX launches successfully, I hope. Okay, have a great day. Bye.